Buying a home in Raleigh, North Carolina when you live in another state can be stressful. We do things a little bit differently here, from a due diligence period to not having your own attorney to represent you to some other really weird quirks. Anyway, buying a home in Raleigh, North Carolina can be a big deal, especially when you're doing it remotely. It's super difficult to juggle all the processes of finding a home, negotiating the deal out, and dealing with inspections and all of the problems that pop up, especially when you have to fly back and forth from across the country on a weekly, if not daily basis. Well, fear not, our team is the top relocation team for buyers relocating from all over the country, and we've used all of that experience helping hundreds and hundreds of buyers over the years. We've distilled that information down to provide to you here on this video. First up, we're going to go over all of the weird quirks and things you have to be prepared about moving to the Raleigh, North Carolina area. We're then going to follow that up with a step-by-step guide of all of the steps it takes to go from interested in buying a house to, yay, I own a house in Raleigh, North Carolina. And lastly, we're going to go over a couple of special hacks to make the process even easier for you. So with that out of the way, let's get into some of these weird quirks of buying a house in Raleigh, North Carolina. The first one we have to tell you about is a really big one. It's something that only happens in, I believe, North Carolina and South Carolina now, and that is a due diligence period. The long and the short of it is it's basically like an option period where you get to decide if you want to buy that house. You are able to do your inspections, you're able to have your insurance person look to see if there's any weird quirks going on with the house, like they've had an excessive amount of insurance claims that in effect would make your insurance way more expensive than it needs to be. All that evaluation happens during this due diligence period. And incidentally, this is also the time where you're going to get with your buyer agent, if you have one, and negotiate out all the repairs with the other side, with the sellers, to decide if they're going to do repairs or if they're going to give you a credit for repairs and you get done those repairs after closing. My personal opinion is that's the better way to go. That way you know who the vendor is that's doing the work. But anyway, you get all the repairs established and ironed out and making the process that much smoother to move into the house. And incidentally, for this due diligence period, you've got to pay money. There's a due diligence fee, and that fee is paid directly to the seller. It's sort of a compensation to them for the hassle of having you poke around their house. Now, this fee can be anything from $0, which unfortunately is going to probably mean your offer is not going to be accepted. Likely a good listing agent helping the seller is going to counteroffer that $0 due diligence fee offer that you've made. They're going to counter that with a higher fee, a couple $1,000s. But anyway, your fee can be anywhere from $0 all the way up to really the full cost of the house. We've seen during the crazy go-go times of 2021, 2022, we've seen that number get up to $100,000, $150,000 on, say, $1 million house. But generally, in today's market, you're looking at somewhere between $2,500 and $10,000. That's not a hard and fast rule. That's just kind of what we've seen lately in helping buyers buy resale homes. So know that that is sort of a fee that you have to pay, and it's a weird quirk. But the advantage of doing it that way is you are not held responsible should you decide to pull out of the transaction and go buy another house. If you don't like what you see, you are not going to be sued by that seller for breach of contract. In other states, you could be. In North Carolina, you're not going to be sued. Unfortunately, they do get to keep your money. So let's back it up and say you've given a $5,000 due diligence fee on a $200,000 house. And you've bought that house. You've gone all the way through the process. That means you owe $195,000 left to buy that house. And of course, most people are going to get a mortgage for that $195,000, but just know that that $5,000 doesn't go away if you buy the house. It becomes part of your down payment. It does go away, however, if you decide not to buy the house. The next really weird thing about Raleigh, North Carolina, and really all of North Carolina, and it is so hard for our friends up in New York to grasp, and there's other states like this. In North Carolina, you do not have to spend money to get your own attorney to represent you at the closing. I know in New York you have to get an attorney to write the contract, to scratch your dog's ear, to give you a hug, to not give you a hug, all the steps, and they charge you hundreds and hundreds of dollars for those steps. That doesn't happen in North Carolina. We don't have that here. Our contracts are pretty much boilerplate contracts. They don't have to create a contract every single time. I know that's a radical idea, that you would need to create a special contract every single time you buy a house. That's really ridiculous, actually, if you think about it. In North Carolina, we have fill-in-the-blank offer to purchase contracts that your buyer agent fills out on your behalf, and then you review with the agent and then sign and then send on to the seller's side. That's the way we do things here. It brings the cost way, way down. And so then what do you do if you don't need an attorney to write a contract? You certainly have to have one to close your transaction. Yes, you do. But it's not a attorney that works for the seller or for the buyer. It's a middleman attorney whose basic job is to check out title work, make sure there's no weird debts that are due on the house. Maybe a vendor came and put a deck on the back of the house and was never paid. Or, as I like to say, Farmer Brown comes along and knocks on your door and says, hey, this is my family's land. We've never sold this land. The developer sold it from us and built all these houses. You owe me money or you need to get off my land. So if that ever was to happen, there would be title insurance that kicks in. Well, the attorney's job is to research all of those title claims to make sure everything's copacetic. So that is what they do. They also prepare the documents so that the seller signs to release the deed of the house and the buyer signs to accept the deed of a house, and therefore they can go record the new deed. That's all the attorney does around here. They're very, very good people. They don't charge thousands and thousands of dollars to do that. It's like about $800, $900 to do a closing in North Carolina. So yay. So bottom line, for our folks who have attorneys that represent them, like our friends in New York, you don't need that here. You're going to save a lot of money, and the process is actually going to be quite a bit streamlined. The next really weird quirk we need to let you know about is we don't have title companies that do our closings. So this is aimed at our folks in California and some other title company states where there is no attorney. The title company does all of the work. Well, we don't have that here. The attorney that is responsible for the closing, and incidentally, your agent, our team especially, has a list of attorneys that we use on a regular basis. You're certainly able to use anybody you want, but we certainly have some, so let that fear be allayed as well. But you have your attorney do the title work. They partner with a title company to get you a title insurance policy, but that title company stays out of it other than that. And again, this brings down the cost quite a bit. Doesn't cost as much to buy a house in North Carolina or close a house in North Carolina as it does in many other states. Another really weird thing about Raleigh, North Carolina is our maps do not tell the whole story. And what I mean by that is if you buy a house solely based on what you see on a map, you could be making a terrible, terrible mistake. So let me give you an example of that. Wendell, North Carolina looks like it's out in the middle of nowhere. It looks like it would take an hour to get from Wendell to anywhere in the triangle. And that's not the case at all. Thanks to Interstate 87, you can be from Wendell, North Carolina to downtown Raleigh in about 15 to 20 minutes. And that's during the rush hour morning traffic time. This is especially true if you live in Wendell Falls, the giant neighborhood that's just on the edge of Wendell. So logically, again, you would think Wendell would be way out in the middle of nowhere. And conversely, you would also think living in the northern part of Raleigh would mean you could get to downtown Raleigh super, super quick. Actually, there are places in North Raleigh that you could live, great areas. We live up in that area, but it would take you anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes to get into downtown Raleigh from North Raleigh. Makes no sense if you look on a map. There's just some really weird quirks in our area based on roads and growth patterns that have happened over the last few years that make it where you really shouldn't depend on a map to decide where you buy a home in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. Beyond all these weird quirks that are special to the Raleigh and North Carolina area, there's some other things you need to be aware of, especially if you're buying a home from out of state. The number one thing you need to be aware of, and this goes for not only Raleigh, but all of North Carolina and really the country as well. If the home you are interested in buying is in a hot market, it may be very difficult for you to see that home in person before the deadline to make an offer. So this happened quite a bit in 2021, 2022, when we had a lot of out-of-state clients contacting us based on this channel, and thank you for doing so, all of you out there watching. But there were many times when we were out scouting and looking and previewing homes for clients. They would fall in love with the house based on the videos we shot for them. They would be flying across the country, and while they were in the air, the seller's agent, the listing agent, called for best and final offers done. So there were many times when our clients missed out on buying homes because they weren't quick enough to get those homes bought. So one thing you need to be aware of, and one danger of buying a home from out of state, is that if the market that you're looking to buy in is moving quickly and hot, it may be difficult to lay your eyes on the home directly. You may have to buy a home based strictly on a FaceTime or a Zoom live video or a recorded video. We had many clients over those years who bought homes without seeing them. I have sweated many bullets over the years, holding keys in my hand, waiting for these new owners of a home to show up from the airport. They got the car or they drove in, whatever. They're meeting me at the front door of their house for me to hand them the keys. We open the door and they are looking at their house for the very first time, and they own this house. Thankfully, it did not happen at all to us during those crazy times that the people had buyer's remorse. We were very fortunate, but that is something that may have to happen if the market that you're moving into is very accelerated. Just giving you a tip on that. And incidentally, we expect that the spring 2025 market could heat up quite a bit as interest rates are coming down and demand is certainly going up. We strongly recommend you reach out to a very qualified agent, such as the agents on our team, to help you buy your house and to navigate the dynamics of what could likely be happening in spring of 2025. The second thing we want to make you aware of about the Raleigh, North Carolina market is to know that if you are buying a resale home and going through that due diligence period, you need to be very aggressive about getting everything lined up. We tell our clients that we help buy homes that you need to have your inspectors lined up even before your offer is accepted, because that 2-week or 3-week evaluation period will go by very quickly. You've got to pack a lot into that period of time. If you have an inspector go into a house and that inspector finds out that the roof has got a leak, or there's, God forbid, a structural issue or a mold issue in the crawl space, then you've got to get a structural engineer or a mold expert out, or the roofing expert out. Roofing expert, not so hard to get out, but that structural engineer, there are 3 companies in our market that get the most amount of the business, and sometimes they are booked out weeks and weeks in advance. And same thing with the mold people. The mold has to be evaluated by an environmental scientist. We have a good one on call who does a very good job, but she gets booked out in advance. So you got to get the mold scientist out to evaluate it, and then you got to get the remediation company out to give you a quote on how much it would cost to remediate the mold. And it's usually very minor, but the whole point of this is the wheels take a long time to turn to get those inspections. So what we like to do is, if we suspect that the heating and air system may be old, that the roof may be a problem, we get those inspectors to come out the same day as the general inspection. So there's a tip to you: stack your inspections as best you can and be prepared for it. Now, obviously, no one can be prepared for mold or a structural issue. As real estate brokers, we are not experts on structural. We're not experts on mold. What could be a simple little nothing mold to my eyes may be super deadly to a mold expert's eyes. I don't know that. We're not qualified to know that. So we can't be prepared for those inspections, but we certainly can be prepared to stack all the inspections that we suspect may be an issue, again, like heating and air, roof, anything weird about the house that we've noticed when we go through and do a walkthrough viewing with you. We're going to be planning those inspections out. So be prepared. That 2 to 3 week window of due diligence can close very quickly. And know that if you're buying a new construction home, it's not any easier than buying a resale home. Unfortunately, you've got lots of work you need to do to go through that whole process. If you're buying from dirt, you likely are going to have a design center meeting, and then you're going to have a pre-drywall orientation meeting with the builder. Incidentally, we recommend you do a pre-drywall inspection to make sure everything is copacetic with the house. And then as the house is being built, you're going to have a final orientation with the builder. And preferably, we're going to have you do a final inspection prior to that orientation, so you have a honey-do list to give to that builder of things that need to be repaired. So there's lots of steps along the way with buying a new construction home that you need to be aware of. That's why you need a good agent to help you through that process. Incidentally, we help a ton of new construction buyers in our real estate practice, so we certainly are happy to help you. Just know that those are quirks that you need to be aware of when you're buying a new construction home, and living across country might make that process difficult. So with all those weird quirks out of the way, let's get into a step-by-step guide to buying a home in the Raleigh, North Carolina area when you live out of state. The first step, research your options. This is the foundation of buying a home in the Raleigh, North Carolina area when you live out of state. This is where you want to decide where you want to live. Do you want to live close to work? Do you want to live close to a specific school district? Do you want to live close to a Trader Joe's? Whatever that is, you need to define it, research it, and decide upon it at this stage. The ideal way of going about this is to fill out a questionnaire that allows you and your significant other, if you have one, to decide what are our must-haves, what are our nice-to-haves in this next home. If you do not have access to one of these questionnaires, contact us, the information below. We have developed one of these questionnaires. We're happy to provide it for you for free. This questionnaire, again, will help guide you and be your roadmap to go from where you are now to buying the ideal home for you. The second step in this process, find a buyer agent. So yes, you definitely can do all of these things on your own. You also can do your own dental work, but we don't recommend you do either one of them, especially if you live out of state. It's very, very difficult to navigate all of the processes of buying a home without a buyer agent. Contact us at the information below. We are happy to help you, assist you in this process. We are very qualified, very experienced in helping buyers from out of state buy a home in the Raleigh, North Carolina area. We can help you too. So know that a buyer agent is going to be your eyes and ears, prepare the process, make the process so much smoother for you, and actually reduce your cost of you having to fly back and forth across the country or drive back and forth, because a buyer agent can do a lot of the legwork for you, video it for you, all of that sort of thing. That is something we do on a daily basis. The next step in the process, find your mortgage broker, get your pre-approval letter. You want to get this done before you even start looking at a home, because if you find the home of your dreams, it may be the dreams of some other buyer as well. And if you are under a time crunch to get an offer in to buy this home, and they've already got their pre-approval letter and you're still trying to figure out who your mortgage broker is, you're going to be under the gun and you will likely lose out on that transaction. Know that if you don't know a mortgage person, we have a list of people that we work with on a regular basis that we're happy to provide you. Contact us at the info below. We'll get it off to you. The fifth step in this process is coming to the area on an exploratory trip if possible. This is also a step that your buyer agent could be very invaluable. Our team helps our clients coming from out of state to create an itinerary to make the best use of their time. And incidentally, we've also created city guides for all 25 of the cities in and around the Raleigh area that will give you a lot of information about where to go to get a good feel for a different city. Contact us below. We'll be happy to share those with you. Next step in the process, virtually view the homes you like. This is again where a buyer agent can be invaluable. Buyer agent goes out and videos the homes that you are interested in. That way you don't have to waste your time traveling to come to the area to see the home of your dreams, only to find out it is a terrible home for you. Next step in the process, come see your favorite homes if that's possible. Again, it may not be possible for you to fly across the country to see the 2 or 3 homes that you really, really like. If there's a deadline on those homes, again, that's where we come in, where we can have a virtual showing with you, put our hands through the closet to see how big the closet is. We've done that for people so that your frame of reference is understandable, measuring tape, the whole 9 yards. That's something we do for you to make it so that you don't have to fly across country if you're under a time crunch, because the offers are due in, again, while you're in the air. But ideally, you're going to have the time to fly across, drive here, whatever, get to see the homes that you think you like with your own eyes, make a decision and be able to evaluate, do I want home 1, do I want home 2, or do I want home 3? That way you're not going to be surprised when your agent is standing at the front door handing you keys after closing. Next step, craft an offer. And of course, there's a lot of variables involved in this. Do you need to give a high due diligence amount of money? Do you need to give any earnest money deposits? When can you close? What is your financing going to look like? Are you going to be using cash? What can we do to sweeten the deal to make it so your offer is the most compelling? There's all kinds of hacks and things that we use when we represent buyers to help get that offer done. And this is an important stage that you craft your offer. You don't just submit an offer. The next step in the process is your offer was accepted. Congratulations, you now are moving forward and you're going through the period of waiting between offer acceptance and actually having a closing to buy the house. This is where if you're buying a resale home, the next step comes in. That is that due diligence period where you're getting inspections done, you're making sure everything's okay with your mortgage, you're making sure everything's okay with insurance, all of that steps. Or if you are buying a new construction home, this is where you're waiting a lot of the time until you have the opportunity to do a pre-drywall inspection if the home is still under construction, or you do that new home inspection and new home orientation if you've got buying a home that is already standing inventory. This is what goes on during this whole time period. And again, we help our buyers to shepherd through this process to make it very, very seamless and easy for them. Next step in the process is you negotiate any repairs that your inspector found. And this is either if you're buying resale or new construction. You submit those repair requests to the owner of the property or the builder. Get that all ironed out so that when you are moving into the home, you're either prepared financially with an incentive from the homeowner to do the repairs yourself, or those repairs have been done by the current owner, making your life that much easier when you move into the home. Next piece of the puzzle, you plan your move. And this can be a little more daunting than you would think about it, especially if you're moving from out of state. Maybe you have a house to sell out of state. You may have to get into some temporary housing, either in your home state, current state, or temporary housing here in the Raleigh area. Our team, of course, has a list of short-term rentals, and of course there's Airbnb if it's even shorter still. We can certainly provide assistance on that. Contact us below. But you need to plan your move. You need to make sure your utilities are all set up. You need to figure out where you're going to live if there's a gap of time. And could be, if you are buying from out of state, there could be a period of time when your new construction home is supposed to be done, but isn't actually done. You need to be prepared for that. You don't want yourself to be homeless. So make sure we're having as much conversations with the builder as possible to make sure your home is truly going to be completed. And again, that's where we come in and can help in that process. The second to last step in this process is that final walkthrough. That's where you have the new home orientation if you're buying new construction, or you're doing a final walkthrough on the house if you're buying resale. Again, this is something that your agent can do for you. We do virtually for our clients. If our clients are traveling across the country or they're still in their old home, we can do that final walkthrough for you to verify that all the repairs have been done, the home looks good. And then of course, I'm a little superstitious. I tell our team, and we do this, such that if you are buying a home on a Tuesday, we're going to do a drive by that home on Tuesday, or walk into the home on Tuesday, at least one or the other, to make sure the home is still standing, everything is good, gas hasn't been left on, or some god-awful thing like that, so that when you go to the closing, which is the final step, you are able to know that your home is in good condition, and there's yay to that. So the last step of the process is the closing. That's when you go to the attorney, sign all the paperwork. This attorney then goes and records your new deed, and you get the keys to a new house and get to move in. And also, we have a few hacks to make the whole process a little bit easier. We'll go over them now. The first one, you can do a mail away closing. So if you are not able to travel to the Raleigh area to buy your new home, or close on your new home, the attorney can overnight you a package of all the closing documents. You could go sit in front of a notary public, sign all of those documents, then overnight them back to the attorney, and the attorney processes it as if you were sitting right there at the closing table with them. This will cost money, but it may save you money on a travel expense, especially if you're planning on buying a home now and not moving in for a month or two because of kids getting out of school or whatever. So know that you can do a mail away closing. We help clients do that all the time. Give us a shout. We're happy to fill you in further on that. Second little hack, if you're buying a home with cash, you don't even have to come to the closing. You can e-sign all of the documents you need to sign. You will, of course, wire all your money to the attorney. They will do the closing. You don't have to come. You don't have to show up. So another example of where cash is king, it makes it where the process is so much easier when you are about to close on your new home. And another great hack to share with you, the inspections and the walkthroughs and the showings can be done virtually using video. We do this all the time for our clients where they maybe are not able to come across the country for, say, that pre-drywall inspection. If they're buying new construction, we can video the process of that inspection that happens and the results that the inspector finds. And incidentally, we also video while the walls are not up yet, so you're able to see that there's a gas line here and an electrical outlet here and this, that, and the other in the walls before they put the insulation in the drywalls. We give you that video as well. This all can be done virtually to save you some time and trouble and hassle of having to come across country. We do this videoing for our clients all the time. It's definitely something we recommend you get done as well. So if you're ready to buy a home from out of state, or even if you're here in the area, our team is happy to assist. Contact us at the info below. We'll be happy to get started. Check out this video. We think you're really gonna like this one as well. Like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.